Set to sign an executive order any minute now, lifting restrictions on federal funding for embryonic stem cell research. The move reverses a ban by the Bush administration on that kind of research. Major Garrett live at the White House. So with this order, what happens exactly with embryonic stem cells that you can't do right now?
Well, John, welcome to a very blustery and windy north lawn of the White House. Essentially in 2001, August 9th, President Bush signed an executive order isolating and for the first time providing federal funding for research on a finite number of embryonic stem cell lines that were available at that time. Since August 9th, 2001, there has been no federal research on lines made available after that date. Now, what the president's executive order today will do will be to free up federal funds for those embryos frozen since August 2001, and that researchers have set aside with the hopes that someday they can conduct this embryonic stem cell research on. One intermediate step, the National Institutes of Health will have 120 days to come up with specific guidelines for the Obama administration to carry out this research. But essentially, researchers with federal money behind them will now be able to take those embryos after August 9th, 2001, and begin embryonic stem cell research on those.
So President Bush had some pretty strict restrictions in place since 2001. Do any of those remain under this new guideline from the Obama administration?
Yes, indeed. They carry over. A couple of very important ones. First of all, there will be no use of embryos without the written consent of those who supplied them. Typically, these embryos are part of in vitro fertilization procedures, so you have to get the written consent of the donors. Plus, there has to be established, and there will be established mechanisms so there can be no financial gain received by the transference of these embryos. And there is existing legislation in Congress that this executive order will not stop, that will not allow the federal dollars to pay for any creation or destruction of embryos. So all those guidelines will be in place. Essentially what is happening is with this executive order, the available lines will be larger. They were isolated after August 1st, 2001. That's the big change.
All right, Major Garrett live at the White House, and we will be hearing from President Obama about 40 minutes from now when he signs that executive order. We want to know what you think. Do you think the president is doing the right thing by reversing the Bush administration's policies on stem cell research? Send us an email or comment on our blog. You can go to foxnews.com/happeningnow. Click on the links there.
Want to get to the